Hey you! Come and let me tell you something you needs to know, but first subscribe to this channel for more lessons like this. Imagine waking up every day feeling like the weight of the world rests on your shoulders, not because life is hard, but because you care too much about what others think. You scroll through social media, comparing your life to everyone else's highlight reels. You hesitate to speak your mind, afraid of judgment. You make choices not for yourself, but for the approval of people who barely notice you. And the truth? This endless pursuit of validation is quietly stealing your peace, your power, and the joy you deserve. This is the trap so many of us fall into. Society teaches us that approval equals worth, that love is earned by conformity, and that success is measured by the applause of others. But what if I told you there's a way out, a way to reclaim your life, your confidence, and your freedom? This is where Stoicism, the ancient philosophy that has guided emperors, warriors, and thinkers for centuries, comes into play. It's not about being cold or detached, it's about being deeply alive, fiercely independent, and free from the chains of other people's opinions. Let me show you the secret. The moment you stop chasing approval, you unlock a power inside you that the world cannot touch. You stop living according to the whims of others and start designing your life by your own values, your own purpose, and your own truth. This is not a theory, it's a transformation that can be felt in your body, mind, and soul. And I promise, it's accessible to anyone willing to take the first step. You may wonder, how do I stop caring so much about what others think? The answer lies in understanding one core Stoic principle: control what you can, and let go of what you cannot. You cannot control how others perceive you, what they say about you, or the judgments they pass. But you can control your thoughts, your actions, and your response to the world. When you internalize this, a shift begins. The anxiety, the overthinking, the constant self-questioning, they all start to dissolve, leaving clarity, strength, and self-respect in their place. Now, imagine walking into a room with no fear of judgment. Imagine speaking your truth even when it's unpopular. Imagine making bold decisions not because they'll earn applause, but because they align with who you truly are. This is freedom. This is the Stoic secret I want you to embrace today. And as we explore this journey together, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Each video is designed to awaken your inner strength, challenge your assumptions, and guide you toward a life that's unapologetically yours. Let's break it down into actionable truths that can transform your daily life. First, understand that your worth is inherent. No achievement, no compliment, no social recognition can increase your value because it's already complete. Stoicism teaches us to find self-worth from within, not outside. When you anchor your confidence in your character, integrity, and effort, the opinions of others lose their power. They become noise in the background instead of chains on your mind. Second, practice emotional independence. When someone criticizes you, you have a choice: let it hurt or let it pass. By observing the comment without immediate attachment, you create space for reason over reaction. This does not mean ignoring feedback, it means filtering it through your own values. Constructive guidance is embraced, baseless judgment is released. Over time, this practice builds resilience, calmness, and an unshakable sense of self. Third, focus on the process, not the applause. Too often, people chase approval through outcomes, promotions, likes, accolades. But Stoicism reminds us that the true measure of a life well lived is the quality of effort, the alignment with virtue, and the consistency of action. By prioritizing integrity over validation, you naturally attract respect, but without dependency on it. This subtle shift changes the way you move through life. Fourth, embrace discomfort. Standing firm in your beliefs, even when unpopular, often leads to temporary loneliness or misunderstanding. But this is necessary. Growth requires tension. Approval seeking seeks comfort. Stoicism embraces discomfort for the sake of strength and authenticity. Every small act of courage, speaking your mind, making tough choices, or facing criticism, strengthens your inner fortress against the opinions of the world. Fifth, reflect daily. Take a moment each night to review your actions, your thoughts, and your responses. Ask yourself, Did I act according to my values or in pursuit of approval? Honest reflection is the compass that keeps you aligned. Stoic masters like Marcus Aurelius used this practice to refine their character and maintain inner freedom amidst chaos. Sixth, understand that fear of judgment is an illusion. Most people are too wrapped up in their own lives to scrutinize yours the way you imagine. Stoicism teaches us that the mind often exaggerates danger, projecting insecurities onto imagined critics. By recognizing that external opinions are fleeting and mostly irrelevant, you reclaim mental space previously wasted on worry. This clarity empowers you to act decisively, freely, and authentically. Seventh, detach your self-image from outcomes. Too often, people tie their identity to success, approval, or recognition. When praise or criticism comes, the emotional pendulum swings wildly. Stoicism advises rooting your identity in effort, integrity, and values, not applause. When you succeed or fail, your core self remains intact, grounded, and resilient. This inner stability is the cornerstone of freedom. Eighth, embrace silence and solitude. In a world obsessed with likes, shares, and validation, time alone becomes rare and precious. Solitude is where your thoughts gain clarity, where you can distinguish your values from societal noise, and where you nurture self-respect. Stoics often retreated into quiet reflection to sharpen their judgment and maintain inner strength. Solitude is not loneliness, it is empowerment. Ninth, cultivate gratitude for independence. When you stop chasing approval, life begins to reveal hidden blessings, autonomy in decisions, joy in personal growth, and the freedom to explore your passions without restraint. Gratitude amplifies these benefits. By appreciating what you already have, control over your mind, body, and choices, you reinforce the Stoic mindset and reduce dependency on external validation. 10th, observe role models and lessons from history. Figures like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius lived extraordinary lives despite constant pressures from society. They faced criticism, betrayal, and expectation yet remained anchored in principle. Their wisdom teaches that no external approval is necessary to lead a meaningful, impactful life. Study them, emulate their discipline, and let their courage inspire your own journey. 11th, recognize the fleeting nature of opinions. People's judgments are temporary. They evolve, fade, or are forgotten entirely. Stoicism reminds us that attaching value to something so impermanent is a recipe for suffering. When you internalize this, the approval you once chased loses its grip, leaving room for self-directed growth, creativity, and peace. 12th, master the art of saying no. Approval seekers often overcommit, fearing rejection or disapproval. Stoicism teaches that boundaries are essential. Saying no protects your time, energy, and values. Each refusal to please others unnecessarily is a step toward reclaiming your life. By honoring your priorities over the demands of others, you strengthen autonomy and self-respect. 13th, confront your fears directly. Ask yourself, what am I truly afraid of? Usually it's not failure, it's judgment. Stoicism empowers you to dismantle this fear by understanding it, confronting it, and acting anyway. Courage is built in small, consistent actions. Each time you act despite fear of disapproval, you expand the boundaries of your freedom. 14th, embrace personal responsibility. Chasing approval often leads to blame shifting, blaming circumstances, other people, or society for unhappiness. Stoicism teaches that your response to life is entirely within your control. When you take full responsibility for your thoughts, emotions, and actions, you reclaim power that approval-seeking had stolen. True liberation comes from ownership. 15th, practice deliberate self-discipline. Stoic freedom is not about indulgence, it's about mastery. By controlling impulses, managing reactions, and choosing action over emotion, you demonstrate self-respect. This discipline naturally diminishes the need for external validation, because your self-esteem is built on consistent, intentional behavior. 16th, transform criticism into a tool for growth. Not all judgment is harmful. Some may reveal blind spots or opportunities for improvement. The key is discernment, filtering constructive insights from toxic noise. By learning from feedback without being enslaved by it, you refine your character while remaining free from the tyranny of opinion. 17th, focus on the present moment. Approval seeking often stems from past regrets or anxiety about future judgment. Stoicism emphasizes presence, what you do now, how you act, and how you align with your values. By grounding yourself in the present, external opinions lose power, and life becomes richer, more intentional, and deeply fulfilling. 18th, cultivate resilience through repetition. Stop chasing approval repeatedly, every day, in every interaction. Each choice to act authentically, each refusal to conform unnecessarily, strengthens your mental muscle. Stoicism teaches that character is built through repetition, not theory. With consistent practice, freedom becomes instinctive. 19th, embrace the humility of learning. Chasing approval often comes from ego, wanting to appear knowledgeable, skilled, or perfect. Stoics understand that true strength lies in accepting what you do not know, embracing growth, and valuing wisdom over admiration. This mindset frees you from the pressure of performing for others. 20th, understand that self-worth is not negotiable. When you stop chasing approval, you signal to yourself and the world that your value is inherent, unshakable, and independent. This clarity transforms how people perceive you. Ironically, respect and admiration begin to flow naturally, but they are no longer the goal. They are a byproduct of integrity. 21. Break free from the need for external validation in relationships. So many of us live constrained by the fear of rejection or judgment from friends, family, or romantic partners. Stoicism teaches that while connection is valuable, your self-worth should never be contingent on approval. By grounding your identity in your values rather than reactions, you create relationships built on authenticity, not performance. Imagine conversations where you speak freely, act with integrity, and express your truth without anxiety. That is the kind of connection Stoicism encourages. 22. Replace comparison with self-focus. Social media and cultural pressures constantly encourage comparison. They are richer, more successful, more admired. When you stop seeking approval, comparison loses its appeal. Stoicism reminds us to focus on our own journey, our own growth, and our own contribution. By measuring progress internally rather than externally, you escape the exhausting treadmill of envy and insecurity. Your life becomes about mastery, purpose, and meaning, not about meeting arbitrary standards. 23. Practice humility in action. Approval seekers often exaggerate achievements or perform to impress. Stoicism values quiet competence, acting rightly without expectation of recognition. This humility paradoxically draws authentic respect while keeping your focus on growth. When you act with virtue, without dependency on applause, you cultivate a reputation that is both genuine and resilient. Please subscribe to this channel. 24. Embrace discomfort as fuel for freedom. Society often conditions us to seek comfort, but Stoicism sees discomfort as an opportunity. Standing up for your principles, saying no, or facing criticism is uncomfortable, but each instance builds resilience. When you stop caring what others think, discomfort becomes a tool, not a threat. You begin to see challenges as invitations to strengthen your character, rather than as obstacles to popularity. 25. Understand that your mind is your fortress. The opinions of others cannot enter unless you allow them in. Stoicism teaches that your mental state is sovereign, your peace is inviolable. By observing thoughts without immediately reacting to social pressure, you create an inner sanctuary of calm and clarity. In this mental space, you can make decisions aligned with your values instead of fleeting approval. 26. Embrace the art of letting go. Approval seekers cling to praise, recognition, or acknowledgement. Stoicism reminds us that these are external and impermanent. Letting go does not mean rejecting kindness or feedback, it means freeing yourself from dependency. Each time you release the need for validation, you step closer to freedom, peace, and authentic confidence. 27. Cultivate patience with yourself. Transformation is not instantaneous. You may slip into old patterns of seeking approval, but each time you recognize it, each time you choose autonomy over validation, you grow stronger. Stoic practice is a lifelong journey, and your patience, self-compassion, and persistence determine your mastery. 28. Develop an inner dialogue of encouragement. Approval seekers often silence themselves with self-doubt, imagining harsh judgment from others. Replace this with self-affirmation grounded in Stoic principles. I act with integrity. I focus on what I control. I am enough. Repeatedly practicing this internal encouragement rewires your mind to trust itself rather than seeking external reassurance. 29. Recognize the fleeting nature of praise. Compliments, recognition, and applause are temporary and often unreliable. Stoicism teaches that building internal worth is far more sustainable. When you root your sense of self in your principles, your decisions, and your consistent actions, external praise becomes a pleasant bonus, not a requirement for happiness. 30. Embrace courage as a daily habit. Each act of independence, each refusal to conform, is a demonstration of courage. Courage is not a dramatic gesture, it is the quiet, repeated choice to live according to your values despite external pressures. By cultivating this habit, you begin to live a life that is yours alone, bold, authentic, and free. 31. Practice detachment from outcomes. Seeking approval often ties emotions to results, a compliment, a promotion, a like. Stoicism teaches detachment from results while remaining committed to action. Your focus shifts from external validation to intrinsic satisfaction. The joy of acting rightly, speaking truth, and living intentionally becomes your reward. 32. Embrace the wisdom of perspective. Many of the judgments you fear are irrelevant in the grand scheme of life. Stoics practice the exercise of imagining the shortness of life to reduce fear of social disapproval. When you see the fleeting nature of opinions against the vastness of existence, freedom and peace naturally arise. 33. Develop self-reliance in thought and action. Approval seekers often outsource their decisions to the expectations of others. Stoicism teaches that relying on yourself for judgment, choices, and values creates independence. By trusting your mind and your reasoning, you reduce susceptibility to the whims of approval seekers or societal pressures. 34. Cultivate consistency in virtue. Freedom from approval comes not from occasional rebellion, but from consistent adherence to principle. Each small, disciplined choice reinforces autonomy, making your actions predictable to yourself and liberating from the expectations of others. Integrity, not popularity, becomes your compass. 35. Let go of the fear of conflict. Seeking approval often leads to avoidance of disagreement, confrontation, or challenge. Stoicism teaches that standing firm on principles may provoke opposition, but that opposition does not diminish your worth. By prioritizing truth over approval, you create respect, not resentment, and cultivate mental fortitude. Subscribe for more. 36. Practice empathy without dependency. Approval seekers may overextend to gain acceptance. Stoicism allows compassion while maintaining independence. Helping others, supporting friends, or offering kindness is valuable, but your self-worth is not tied to their recognition. This approach creates healthy, authentic connections without sacrificing freedom. 37. Recognize that life's challenges are inevitable. Approval seekers suffer doubly, from the external challenge and from the perceived judgment of others. Stoicism teaches that external events are neutral. It is your response that matters. By separating the event from social interpretation, you reduce suffering and strengthen resilience. 38. Embrace your own narrative. Stop letting others write your story. Approval seekers often internalize criticism or expectations, losing their voice. Stoicism empowers you to craft your narrative through choices, actions, and reflection. Your story becomes authentic, intentional, and free of outside control. 39. Celebrate small victories and independence. Each moment you act authentically, refuse to over-apologize, or prioritize your values over validation is a victory. Stoicism teaches that freedom is cultivated incrementally. Recognize and honor your progress, reinforcing self-confidence, and reinforcing the mindset shift. 40. Commit to lifelong practice. Freedom from approval is not a one-time achievement, it is a daily, conscious choice. Each interaction, decision, and thought is an opportunity to exercise Stoic principles. As you practice, your confidence grows, your anxiety fades, and your life becomes a reflection of your own values rather than the expectations of others. By internalizing these Stoic truths, you transform your life from reactive to deliberate, from anxious to calm, from dependent to free. And if you want more guidance, more techniques, and more insight into living a life untethered by others' opinions, subscribe to this channel. Each video is crafted to strengthen your mind, sharpen your focus, and guide you toward authentic freedom. Don't wait. Start reclaiming your life today. 41. Understand that your value is not negotiable. When you stop seeking approval, you send a signal, to yourself and the world, that your life is governed by principles, not popularity. This is profound because it creates an invisible shield around your mind. You begin to care less about gossip, envy, and judgment. The energy you once wasted on seeking affirmation now fuels your personal growth, your craft, and your vision. Imagine walking through life with this quiet but powerful confidence. That energy alone changes how people perceive you, not because you are trying to impress them, but because you are whole. 42. Recognize the subtle ways society manipulates your need for approval. Advertising, social media, peer groups, even family expectations constantly tell you, you are not enough unless you conform. Stoicism teaches you to detect these manipulations. You begin to ask, is this my choice, or am I performing for someone else's approval? Awareness is the first step to freedom. Each time you notice these subtle pressures and choose yourself instead, you reclaim a piece of your life. 43. Embrace the discomfort of saying what you truly feel. Approval seekers often hide their opinions to avoid conflict or judgment. Stoicism teaches that courage is expressing truth aligned with virtue. Every time you speak honestly, even in small matters, you exercise mental strength. Over time, you cultivate a reputation for authenticity, not compliance. People may resist at first, but your consistency draws genuine respect, trust, and admiration. 44. Reflect on mortality to reduce the power of judgment. Stoics often meditated on the brevity of life, understanding that in the vast timeline of existence, most criticisms and opinions are insignificant. When you view judgment through this lens, fear dissipates. What once seemed overwhelming becomes trivial. This perspective allows you to act boldly, live intentionally, and stop living in the shadow of imagined approval. Subscribe to this channel for more. 45. Detach from the illusion of universal acceptance. Not everyone will like you, respect you, or validate your choices, and that is natural. Stoicism reminds us that attempting to satisfy everyone is both impossible and destructive. Freedom comes when you accept this reality and act according to your principles regardless. Imagine the weight lifted from your shoulders when you realize that approval is optional, and your happiness is self-generated. 46. Cultivate mastery over emotion. Approval seekers often let others' reactions dictate their feelings. Stoicism teaches that external events cannot harm you unless you allow them to. By observing emotions without immediate attachment, you gain clarity and composure. This control is liberating. When you no longer react impulsively to judgment, you project strength, wisdom, and calmness, naturally attracting respect without seeking it. 47. Turn envy into inspiration. Approval seekers compare themselves to others and feel diminished. Stoicism reframes this. Instead of resentment, see others' achievements as lessons or benchmarks for your own growth. This subtle mental shift changes envy into productive action. You learn, adapt, and rise without the emotional cost of needing approval. 48. Embrace discipline as freedom. Many confuse discipline with restriction, but Stoics see discipline as liberation from the tyranny of impulse and external expectation. When you act consistently according to your values, without concern for applause, you build a life of integrity. This is the kind of freedom that approval seekers can only dream of. Each disciplined choice fortifies your mind against the opinions that once ruled you. 49. Accept that discomfort is a sign of growth. Approval seekers crave comfort and avoidance. Stoics embrace discomfort because it indicates progress. Speaking truth, setting boundaries, or pursuing unpopular goals creates tension, but tension is the forge of character. Each uncomfortable moment strengthens resolve and teaches you to rely on yourself instead of the approval of others. 50. Make peace with rejection. Rejection is inevitable, whether in relationships, work, or social circles. Stoicism teaches that rejection is not a reflection of worth but of misalignment. By internalizing this, you stop personalizing others' responses. You free yourself from the need for constant acceptance and create space for genuine connection and opportunity, grounded in authenticity rather than fear. 51. Visualize life without the need for validation. Imagine acting freely, thinking independently, and making choices aligned entirely with your values. Visualization is a Stoic exercise that trains the mind to embrace autonomy. By repeatedly imagining this freedom, you prepare your mind to act courageously in reality. Small daily practices like this accumulate, creating profound change over time. Subscribe to this channel. 52. Practice gratitude for your own independence. Approval seekers often envy others' perceived freedom or recognition. Stoicism teaches that gratitude shifts focus from lack to abundance. By appreciating the moments you act authentically, refuse to over-apologize, or prioritize your values, you reinforce self-respect and diminish the power of external judgment. Gratitude and autonomy are deeply intertwined. 53. Notice how fear of judgment influences decision-making. Ask yourself, would I choose this if no one else could see? Stoicism teaches that the honest answer reveals where dependency lies. By acting as if no one else exists, you practice independence and strengthen character. Decisions become intentional, aligned, and free from the subtle coercion of approval seeking. 54. Develop a morning ritual for clarity. Start each day reflecting on what matters most, reminding yourself that external opinions are secondary. Stoics often use morning reflection to set intention and focus on virtue. This daily habit frames your day in alignment with principles rather than reactions, making each action purposeful. 55. Observe your internal dialogue. Approval seekers often self-criticize harshly, fearing others' judgment. Stoicism teaches that the mind is a tool to serve reason and virtue, not to amplify fear. By actively correcting self-talk, affirming your values, and grounding your thoughts in reality rather than imagined opinion, you cultivate resilience and freedom. 56. Understand the difference between respect and approval. Approval is temporary and external. Respect is earned and internal. Stoicism guides you to prioritize acting with integrity, not performance. When you consistently uphold values, respect naturally follows, but it is a byproduct, not a requirement. This distinction releases you from the exhausting treadmill of approval seeking. 57. Embrace simplicity in life. Approval seekers often complicate choices to impress or conform. Stoicism values simplicity, clarity, and purpose. By removing unnecessary complexity and focusing on what truly matters, virtue, action, reflection, you free yourself from distractions and the constant need for affirmation. 58. Anchor yourself in the present. Fear of judgment often stems from past mistakes or future worries. Stoicism emphasizes living in the now, where action and choice reside. By staying present, you reduce anxiety, make decisions aligned with your principles, and diminish the sway of external approval. Subscribe to this channel. 59. Cultivate self-trust. Stoicism teaches that if you trust your reasoning, values, and actions, you need not rely on others' validation. Self-trust is built gradually, through reflection, action, and consistency. Each decision made from principle strengthens this foundation, gradually rendering external approval irrelevant. 60. Reinforce your mental boundaries. Approval seekers let others' words invade their peace. Stoicism emphasizes controlling what enters your mind. Observe judgment without attachment, decide what matters, and discard what does not. Mental boundaries create a sanctuary where your identity, choices, and values remain sovereign. 61. Observe how your environment affects your need for approval. Stoicism teaches that external influences can subtly dictate your behavior. Friends, social media, even casual conversations can pressure you to conform. By becoming aware of these influences, you can choose your reactions deliberately. Limit unnecessary exposure to negativity or validation-seeking situations, and surround yourself with those who encourage autonomy, not dependency. 62. Practice patience with others. Approval seekers often expect immediate recognition or reciprocation, which leads to frustration. Stoicism reminds us that people act according to their nature, not ours. By accepting others as they are and focusing on your own integrity, you cultivate calm and reduce anxiety over judgment. Over time, your independence becomes evident, and respect naturally follows. 63. Embrace the power of choice. Every decision, what you say, what you do, how you respond, is an opportunity to exercise freedom from approval. Stoicism teaches that even in constrained circumstances, you retain the power to choose your response. By focusing on what is within your control, you reclaim authority over your life and release the burden of others' expectations. 64. Notice your habitual patterns of seeking validation. It may be subtle, smiling for approval, over-explaining yourself, or overcommitting. Awareness is the first step toward change. Each time you catch yourself acting for someone else's approval, pause, reflect, and ask, am I acting from principle or from fear of judgment? Gradually, these conscious choices reshape your behavior and mindset. 65. Embrace discomfort and personal growth. Approval seekers often avoid challenges that might expose them to criticism. Stoicism reframes difficulty as opportunity. Facing challenges, even when unpopular or intimidating, strengthens character and independence. Every step into discomfort builds resilience, confidence, and a life less influenced by others. 66. Reflect on the fleeting nature of public opinion. People forget, move on, and rarely dwell on your life the way you do. Stoicism emphasizes that attaching weight to temporary judgment is self-inflicted suffering. By recognizing this truth, you release anxiety and create space to focus on meaningful action, integrity, and personal growth. 67. Cultivate humility and self-awareness. Approval seekers often exaggerate their strengths or achievements to gain recognition. Stoicism values honest self-assessment over performance. By knowing your strengths and limitations without relying on external validation, you make better decisions, act with confidence, and build lasting self-respect. Subscribe now. 68. Embrace intentional living. Approval seekers drift, letting others' expectations guide their choices. Stoicism teaches that intentional action aligned with values creates fulfillment. Each day, ask yourself, does this action reflect my principles, or am I acting for applause? Over time, this conscious alignment builds independence, peace, and purpose. 69. Develop the discipline of reflection. Stoic thinkers used nightly review to analyze their actions and intentions. Reflect on moments when you sought approval unnecessarily. Recognize the triggers, the consequences, and alternative responses. This disciplined reflection strengthens self-control and gradually frees you from approval-seeking habits. 70. Embrace solitude as strength. Spending time alone allows clarity of thought, reflection, and alignment with your values. Stoicism teaches that independence requires solitude to cultivate insight. By learning to enjoy your own company, you rely less on external validation and more on internal guidance. 71. Transform judgment into curiosity. When criticized, ask, is there truth here I can use, or is this irrelevant? Approval seekers often take every comment personally. Stoicism teaches discernment, using what is valuable and discarding what is not. This mental filter prevents unnecessary suffering and promotes growth. 72. Focus on mastery over distraction. Society constantly bombards us with messages, likes, and opinions designed to provoke response. Stoicism teaches that mastery is achieved by controlling focus. Each time you choose purposefully over distraction, you strengthen independence and reduce reliance on others' recognition. 73. Embrace simplicity in communication. Approval seekers often overcomplicate messages to impress or avoid judgment. Stoicism values clarity and honesty. Speak your truth simply, consistently, and without apology. Over time, this creates a reputation of integrity, trustworthiness, and calm authority. 74. Prioritize action over reaction. Approval seekers often react impulsively to praise, criticism, or social expectation. Stoicism emphasizes deliberate, thoughtful action. By acting from principle rather than reaction, you create a life governed by reason, not others' opinions. 75. Practice gratitude for your autonomy. Each moment you choose principle over approval is a victory. Stoicism teaches that freedom is cumulative, built through consistent action. Gratitude reinforces awareness of your progress, strengthens resolve, and keeps you committed to independence. 76. Embrace failure as a lesson. Approval seekers fear failure because it may lead to judgment. Stoicism reframes failure as neutral. It is information, a learning opportunity. By detaching self-worth from outcomes, you act boldly and learn quickly, growing stronger and more resilient. 77. Cultivate resilience through perspective. Approval seekers overemphasize criticism. Stoicism teaches that life is vast and opinions are small. Viewing criticism as minor and often irrelevant prevents it from disrupting your peace and empowers you to act freely. 78. Set boundaries with tact. Approval seekers overextend themselves to please others. Stoicism encourages boundary setting without guilt. By protecting your time, energy, and values, you maintain independence and focus on meaningful pursuits. Boundaries are a cornerstone of mental freedom. 79. Embrace authenticity over likability. People-pleasing is exhausting. Stoicism teaches that living authentically creates sustainable respect, while seeking likability creates dependency. Speak, act, and live aligned with your principles. Approval may follow, but it is never required. 80. Commit to lifelong practice. Freedom from approval is not a destination, it is a continuous journey. Each day presents choices, challenges, and temptations to conform. Stoicism reminds us that consistent action, reflection, and alignment with virtue create enduring freedom. Your life becomes a living testament to independence, strength, and peace. 81. Recognize the subtle victories. Every refusal to over-apologize, every moment you act without seeking validation, every choice made from principle is a victory. Celebrate these wins. Stoicism teaches that consistent small actions compound into profound transformation over time. 82. Embrace the joy of internal guidance. Approval seekers rely on external cues. Stoics rely on inner wisdom. The more you trust yourself, the less you are swayed by judgment, gossip, or expectation. This trust creates confidence, calm, and clarity in every decision. 83. Create a personal philosophy of action. Define your values, your purpose, and your principles. Stoicism teaches that clarity of purpose diminishes fear of judgment. When actions are guided by internal compass, external approval becomes irrelevant, and freedom becomes natural. 84. Integrate reflection into daily life. Observe triggers, reactions, and moments of approval seeking. Analyze without judgment and refine your response. This continuous feedback loop strengthens resilience and independence, allowing Stoicism to permeate every aspect of your life. 85. Embrace challenges as character tests. Approval seekers see difficulty as risk. Stoics see opportunity. Each challenge tests alignment with values. Each choice made with integrity strengthens your mind and gradually frees you from dependency on approval. 86. Nurture relationships without compromise. Stoicism encourages genuine connection, not performance. Offer support, kindness, and presence, but never at the expense of your values. Independence and authentic connection coexist harmoniously. 87. Practice courage in subtle ways. Freedom from approval is often quiet, refusing to over-apologize, speaking truth, choosing solitude when needed. These subtle acts accumulate, creating inner strength and self-respect that cannot be taken by opinion. 88. Anchor yourself in principles, not trends. Approval seekers often chase popularity, fashion, or social norms. Stoicism teaches that enduring freedom comes from timeless values, not fleeting trends. Acting from principle builds resilience and a life of meaning. 89. Embrace impermanence. Opinions, approval, praise, and judgment are all temporary. Stoicism teaches that anchoring self-worth in impermanent things creates suffering. Focus instead on internal virtues, effort, and action, these are enduring. 90. Commit to self-mastery. Approval seekers are often slaves to fear, desire, and expectation. Stoicism teaches that mastery over self is the ultimate freedom. Discipline, reflection, and intentional action cultivate independence, inner peace, and genuine power. Subscribe now.